with this end of game all on Brock Purdy's shoulders, him not living up to the moment, do you think that Kyle Shanahan could move on to Sam Darnold if against Jacksonville, Purdy, let's say, comes out, Aaron Banks is going to be out because of his stupid turf toe. I, by the way, broke my toe like 2 years ago. Shit hurts. You think like, oh, it's just a toe. You have like 9 others. They're all super important. I broke my big toe too. You have no idea how much.
Did you break down your bedposts? Because those are the ones that hurt.
So much more. No, I'm such an idiot. I was at the gym and like I should be on.
You dropped the weight.
I should be on Adderall and I'm not. I'm just like secretly 12 years old in like a big kid body, like a big human girl, woman, adult body. And I was standing on, I was doing RDLs and then I put the weights on the bench and then I was standing on the bench with my friend Lacey who was visiting. And I was like, oh, it'd be fun to like try to do a backflip off the bench. And I like tried to like back bend off the bench and I did it. And then as I like landed, my momentum shifted the bench and then the bench like made the weight wiggle and I landed and then the weight landed on my toe.
All right, you had that one coming.
Super dramatically in like a 24-hour fitness. It was like full of people just like scream, cried. Really, really embarrassing.
You can't do extreme sports at the gym.
I know. So I broke my hip trying to do back. I'm just not a gymnast. And I just like in my heart really want to be. I did cheer when I was younger, you know. And my friend Chelsea and I used to always fall, like we'd go to like the gym practice where you have to like learn all your tumbling. And we were always like kind of like the worst on the team. And we would always like fall and like hit our heads. And we used to be like, oh, we perfected the art of falling. While like everyone else was like doing beautiful twirls. We were just like landing on our heads, which is probably why I am the way I am now. Brock Purdy, if he throws interceptions, if he acts like he hit his head, just like I did when I was a small child, do you think that Kyle Shanahan could potentially be like, hey, what do you call it? New Steve Young? How you doing? Come join the game. Or do you think he'll come to his senses and be like, hey, Sam Darnold has also thrown 3-4 interceptions a game. Do you think that there's any chance that if Purdy continues to struggle, that Kyle would move on from him?
I think the only way that would happen is if like they're really like losing games, and that would probably be until like 4 games after the bye. I don't think he's on a long leash. I think this is all like kind of like a little bit overhyped. But then again, you know, I don't blame anyone for thinking this because it's Kyle Shanahan in the quarterback position. I never trust him. Trust him. The reason why I don't think it's not going to happen yet, because look, Brock still had a pretty solid game aside from those picks. So Kyle's probably thinking like, look, I think if the defense wasn't playing bad, the running game was actually fine. If it was literally like if we just in a microscope with the magnifying glass identified the loss and literally all fingers pointed to Purdy, we'd be like, I'd probably be like, okay, yeah, after the Jags game, maybe we're considering a change. But since, you know, we really take a fine-tooth comb and look it over what went wrong, and we're pretty much like, everything went wrong, you know, everything did, then it's like, okay, it's kind of hard just to really look at just him. So I think he has to be an isolated figure because even though he significantly played a role in the loss of the game, right, the 10-point swing and like the picks and the momentum lost, he still pretty much was doing his thing for 3 quarters. It's not going to be until the point where everything else is going well for the most part that now you're thinking, okay, maybe now we have to consider a change. Because once you go to that change, unless it's an injury like concussion excuse you had going to this game, then we're probably not going to see Darnold until like it really is starting to look really bad for like the next 3 to 4 games.
I wonder if they could use the concussion excuse if he did like come out and throw an interception right away or something, because there is that like viral clip of him.
No, and I told you this last week. If they use that excuse, you know how bad.
Because they're fucked. You know
how terrible they're gonna look. So anyone using that needs to like, yo, you realize like how bad the Dolphins looked last year by letting Tua back into that game.
Yeah.
Imagine if. So I know we are pointing out that hit that Brock Purdy took. Imagine if Brock Purdy took that hit and he got cussed again. We're looking at Tua 2.0. But the only reason why it would have been less is because remember Tua was doing like he was kind of having like almost what looked like a seizure. His body was twitching. His body was in shock because you know he had pretty much a body earthquake from that concussion.
I still remember that from just seeing a video of it on Twitter.
That thing was scary as hell. So I mean, so on top of having the second concussion, so that helped that worrying that. But you know, if we're not at that stage at that level, thankfully for his sake. you know. So yeah, unless that happens, then I think it's gonna
Could
have
pull
to take
out that elbow, the elbow thing. Troy Aikman, he told it.
Nah, but his arms still look fine to me. I don't think that's.
Do you think that the rest of the team is still behind Brock Purdy? Did you hear Fred Warner's comments when asked about his belief in Brock Purdy? He said, "What do you want me to say to that?" Like a reporter said, like, how do you feel, or like, how's your belief shaken in Brock Purdy or something? And he said, what do you expect me to say to that? Little attitude.
I think he's just getting freaking annoyed by the same questions. This is again what I've told you about. Like, it's like, oh, I got this guy asking me after a loss, and he's over here asking me the same damn thing. Remember about the quarterback questions all this offseason? How annoyed. So it's pretty much this now. What about your belief?
Remember during the win streak when I was giving everyone credit for how they were responding in press
I told you losing changes everything.
They're doing so good, and you were like
no. I told you it's just winning. Winning's good. Everyone's down to talk all they want. As soon as you start losing, especially on a streak, now it's like, screw you, man. Who the hell do you think you are asking me this question? I'm doing my job. But then at that point too, it's almost like, we're pretty much they're trying to bait him in a way, because if they really watch the game, it's like yeah, he plays a role in the loss, but he wasn't the reason why they lost, right? He wasn't the reason. So again, until that happens, and probably not for like a consistent streak, a consecutive streak, it's not going to be Darnold anytime soon.
Okay.